Article 210.4 of the National Electrical Code requires that each service disconnect be readily accessible and capable of disconnecting all ungrounded conductors. Article 230.2 requires that each service disconnect have a rating that complies with the service entrance ampacity. Article 408.36 requires that the service disconnect for each tenant or occupant in a multiple occupancy building be located within or adjacent to the tenant space. Section 7.3.3.4 of the Life Safety Code, NFPA 101, requires that the main electrical disconnect be located in an accessible location outside the building. Section 7.3.3.5 requires that each tenant space be provided with a separate service disconnect. Based on the National Electrical Code and Life Safety Code requirements, it is generally required that each tenant in a multiple occupancy building have a separate service disconnect. However, the code does not specifically prohibit combining services under 1 meter in certain circumstances. It is highly recommended to consult with a qualified electrician. They can assess the specific conditions of your building and advise on the best course of action. Explain your situation to the code enforcement inspector. Emphasize that the proposed combination would not violate any national electrical code or life safety requirement and that it is not practical or cost-effective to install a separate meter for each combined suite. Consider the future impact. If you are planning to subdivide the combined suites in the future, you may need to reconsider your current plan. Explore alternative solutions. You could install a submeter to monitor the electricity consumption of the combined suites without requiring a separate service disconnect. Seek legal advice if necessary. If you are unable to resolve the issue with the code enforcement inspector, you may need to consult with an attorney who specializes in building codes. Understanding the nuances of electrical codes in multi-tenant buildings is crucial. The National Electrical Code, commonly referred to as the NEC, and the Life Safety Code, NFPA 101, set the standards for electrical installations and safety protocols. Let's delve deeper into the specific requirements that apply to your situation, especially when considering combining electrical services for multiple suites under a single meter. Firstly, Article 210.4 of the NEC emphasizes accessibility and the ability to disconnect all ungrounded conductors at each service disconnect. This means that each disconnect should be readily reachable and capable of cutting off power to all hot wires serving the tenant space. Secondly, Article 230.2 mandates that each service disconnect have an amperage rating suitable for the service entrance ampacity. In simpler terms, the disconnect must be adequately sized to handle the expected electrical load. Thirdly, Article 408.36 stipulates that for multi-occupancy buildings, the service disconnect for each tenant should be located within or adjacent to their respective space. This facilitates quick and easy power shutoff in case of emergencies or maintenance. Now turning to the Life Safety Code, NFPA 101, it adds another layer of safety requirements. Section 7.3.4 mandates that the main electrical disconnect for the entire building be situated in an easily accessible location outside the building. This allows emergency responders to quickly de-energize the building's electrical system if necessary. Furthermore, Section 7.3.5 emphasizes that each tenant space must have its own separate service disconnect. This ensures that each tenant can independently control the power to their suite. While the codes generally require separate service disconnects for each tenant, there may be some flexibility when it comes to combining services under 1 meter. The code doesn't explicitly forbid it, but it's crucial to proceed with caution and ensure compliance with all other applicable regulations. Given this complexity, seeking expert advice is paramount. A qualified electrician can thoroughly assess the specifics of your building, including the existing electrical infrastructure, load calculations, and future plans. They can then provide tailored recommendations that align with both the code requirements and your business needs. Communication with the code enforcement inspector is also key. Clearly explain your proposed plan, emphasizing that the combined service won't compromise safety or violate any NEC or Life Safety Code provisions. Highlight any practical or cost-related challenges associated with installing separate meters for each combined suite. Thinking ahead is equally important. If you anticipate subdividing the combined suites in the future, it's wise to carefully consider the long-term implications of combining electrical services. Reversing the changes later can be costly and disruptive. Exploring alternative solutions can offer more flexibility. For example, you could install a sub-meter to monitor the electricity consumption of each combined suite without requiring a separate service disconnect. This provides individual usage data for billing or internal tracking purposes. In cases where you encounter disagreements with the code enforcement inspector and cannot reach a resolution, seeking legal counsel from an attorney specializing in building codes can be beneficial. They can provide legal guidance and represent your interests in discussions with the authorities. Remember that electrical codes are designed to ensure safety and prevent hazards. Adhering to these codes is not only a legal obligation, but also a responsible way to protect your tenants and property. Firstly, ensure all electrical work complies with local and national codes. Secondly, regularly inspect and maintain electrical systems. Thirdly, provide tenants with clear instructions on electrical safety. By understanding the code requirements, seeking expert guidance, and implementing proactive safety measures, you can navigate the complexities of electrical services in multi-tenant buildings and create a safe and compliant environment for everyone. The installation must follow the manufacturer's instructions, including the use of correctly sized and approved electrical conduits, boxes, and fittings. Securely mount all equipment to prevent movement or strain. Always use appropriately rated wiring for the expected current load and environmental conditions. Verify that all connections are tight and properly insulated to prevent short circuits or ground faults. Clearly label all disconnects and meters for easy identification. Before energizing the system, inspect all wiring for damage or defects. Testing each circuit with a multimeter is important to confirm proper voltage and continuity. In order to use equipment safely, ensure that all electrical equipment is properly grounded to prevent electrical shock hazards. All electrical circuits must be protected by appropriately sized circuit breakers or fuses. Perform regular inspections of electrical systems to identify and address potential hazards. Do not overload circuits, as this can lead to overheating and fire. Regularly test ground fault circuit interrupters, commonly known as GFCIs, to ensure they are functioning correctly. Do not use damaged or frayed electrical cords, but replace them immediately. Keep electrical panels and equipment clear of obstructions. Ensure that all electrical work is performed by qualified and licensed electricians. Install smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors to alert occupants of potential hazards. Develop and implement an emergency plan in case of electrical fires or other electrical incidents. Educate tenants on basic electrical safety practices. Make sure that you adhere to the National Electrical Code, local electrical codes, and building regulations. Do not attempt electrical repairs or installations if you are not qualified. In multi-tenant buildings, coordinate electrical work with tenants to minimize disruptions. Use appropriate personal protective equipment when working with electrical systems. Keep a record of all electrical inspections, maintenance, and repairs. Ensure that the electrical system is adequately sized to meet the current and future needs of the building. Consider energy-efficient upgrades to reduce energy consumption and costs. Regularly update electrical diagrams and documentation to reflect any changes to the system. All electrical components and equipment must be approved by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories, commonly referred to as UL. Conduct thermal imaging surveys to identify hot spots and potential electrical problems. Use surge protectors to protect sensitive electronic equipment from voltage spikes. Ensure that all outdoor electrical equipment is weather resistant and properly protected from the element. Provide adequate lighting in electrical rooms and work areas. Secure access to electrical panels and equipment to prevent unauthorized entry. Install signage to warn of electrical hazards. All electrical work should be inspected by a qualified electrical inspector to ensure compliance with codes and regulations. Repairing damaged or frayed electrical cords immediately is important. Do not overload circuits, as this can lead to overheating and fire. Test current fault circuit interrupters regularly to ensure they are functioning correctly. Keep electrical panels and equipment clear of obstructions. Qualified and licensed electricians should perform all electrical work. Install smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors to alert occupants of potential hazards. Develop and implement an emergency plan in case of electrical fires or other electrical incidents. Adhere to the National Electrical Code, local electrical codes, and building regulations. Not attempting electrical repairs or installations unless qualified should be practiced. Coordination of electrical work with tenants to minimize disruptions is important. Appropriate personal protective equipment should be used when working with electrical systems. The record of all electrical inspections, maintenance, and repairs should be kept. The electrical system needs to be adequately sized to meet the current and future needs of the building. Consider energy-efficient upgrades to reduce energy consumption and costs. Electrical diagrams and documentation should be regularly updated to reflect any changes to the system. All electrical components and equipment must be approved by a recognized testing laboratory. Conducting thermal imaging surveys to identify hotspots and potential electrical problems is wise. Surge protectors should be used to protect sensitive electronic equipment from voltage spikes. Ensure that all outdoor electrical equipment is weather-resistant and properly protected from the elements. Adequate lighting in electrical rooms and work areas should be provided. Access to electrical panels and equipment should be secured to prevent unauthorized entry. The installation of signage to warn of electrical hazards is recommended. All electrical work should be inspected by a qualified electrical inspector to ensure compliance with codes and regulations. Do not use extension cords as a permanent wiring solution. The regular inspection and testing of emergency backup systems is recommended. Use properly rated and sized fuses and circuit breakers for overcurrent protection. Inspect electrical equipment regularly for signs of wear, damage, or corrosion. Providing training to employees or tenants on basic electrical safety procedures is recommended. Keep flammable materials away from electrical equipment. Ensuring proper ventilation for electrical equipment to prevent overheating. Establish a lockout/tagout procedure for electrical maintenance and repairs. Regularly calibrate and test electrical measuring equipment. Use arc flash protection when working on energized electrical equipment. Consider using energy monitoring systems to track and manage electrical consumption. Replacing outdated or inefficient electrical equipment with newer models is recommended. Regularly inspect and maintain grounding systems to ensure their effectiveness. Keep electrical rooms clean and free of clutter. Ensure that all electrical work is performed in accordance with industry best practices.